What we're looking at in this video is something called network topologies. And the word topology sounds difficult. It kind of means the layout of something. And we'll look first of all with topologies which you're probably used to looking at. So this could be a train network or a tube or subway network. And what we're showing here is, because it's a topological map, just because this distance here is the same as perhaps this distance here, that doesn't mean in real life they will be the same distances. If we go up to the streets, they might be this might be 1 mile, this might be 2 miles. So it's a topological map, which means that we can see correctly where the connections are, but we don't actually know how far the distances are. So it gives us an idea of the layout, but it's not the exact layout that you would see in the physical real world. And so this is the same type of map in which we do networks. So the first one we're going to look at, which is a very popular type of network, is called the star network. And so what you have in a star network, you have a number of machines which are on the outside, and they are individually then connected to the main machine, which is normally a server, on the inside. First of all, thinking about the topologies, just because I've laid this out as a star, and it's called a star network, so why not? This is the type of network that you probably would have in a school or an office. And you're thinking possibly, how if it's in a star, is it that in a classroom or in an office I see a row of computers? And it will actually be laid out like something like this in real life. So you'll have a hub instead of a computer, and then you'll have an individual cable which will link back to the hub. Now, topologically, that is identical to the star which I've drawn here. However, this one, I've managed to get all of the computers lined up in one nice, neat row. Now, this in itself brings one of the disadvantages of using a star network, and there aren't many disadvantages at all, really. So one of the disadvantages is that it needs more cabling. So if you've got a star, instead of having a nice row and each one connects onto the cable, you've got to have a cable running all the way back to your main computer or your hub for every single computer. And that could be quite a huge amount of extra cabling. So why would we bother to do that instead of other network topologies? Well, the reason is that if one computer fails, then only one fails. So if this computer goes down, I still have the other three, or if this line goes down, I still have the other three computers working absolutely fine. It doesn't work, obviously, if my hub here goes down or my central computer here goes down, then all of these computers will lose their connectivity. But hubs these days are fairly reliable, and with backup power they can stay up pretty much all the time. So that's not a huge disadvantage, but it is a potential disadvantage. It's also a very secure system. So for a star network, normally you're looking at a switched hub or you're looking at a central computer. So if I send a signal through, here, then my signal will go straight to this central computer or the switched hub, and it will only stay with this computer. So these computers on the outside, the other computers on the star, won't be able to see my communications. So another advantage on the star network is that it's secure. Let's look at the next type of network, and this time we're looking at a bus network. And so here instantly we see that we've got one line, and so less cabling is the major advantage. And just looking at how it works, what we have here is things called terminators. And here is another terminator. And we then have the wire, which is normally some coaxial cable, a bit like the wire which you have going from an aerial into your TV. And what happens is the signal flows up the wire and then it rebounds off the terminators. So obviously there's a potential problem that if I cut the wire, or if I cut off a terminator, then my whole network doesn't work. So cut wire equals all computers off network. And this is a major problem with a bus style network, that you do lose all of your computers if just one of them is failing or one of the wires is failing. It's also not secure. So if I send a signal, so if this computer wants to communicate with another computer on the network, it doesn't send a signal down the line like this to the one computer. It sends a signal along the line which rebounds off the ends, and it goes to every single computer. So if I'm sending from this computer to this computer, it's quite possible that this computer here could eavesdrop in and have a little listen to what's going on. So not a secure system. The next network which we're going to look at, and the last one we're going to look at, is the ring network. And in this network, you have each of the computers sitting around in a ring, and each one is connected to the next one. And the way the information moves is this computer here wants to send a message, so it sends the message to the next computer, and with it, it says which computer it's going to. And so let's just label these up: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if it's sending a message to number 4, it will send to 2, 2 will send it to 3, 3 will send it to 4, and it arrives there and it doesn't go through the rest of the network. The ring network only operates in one direction, so if it wants to get to number 6, then it would have to send to 2, to 3, to 4, to 5, and then to 6. Now let's imagine we had 100 computers on our ring. It would have to go through 100 computers potentially to get to the last one. So a negative of a ring network is that it can be slow to reach a computer at the end. Also, if we were to cut the wire here, then I would be able to pass from machine 1 to 2, but because it only goes in one direction, I wouldn't be able to pass to 3, 4, 5 and 6. And so cutting the wire leads to significant network problems. One of the positives though, compared to a star network, as we can see, we only really have to use one piece of wire to connect them all up, and so it's cheap for the cabling of this as compared with a star network.